Well, good afternoon again for a second time. We are not issuing parking citations today, so I know a number of people have asked, well, are we going to get a ticket?
Do we get the dollar back?
Do you get the dollar back? No. But you can get a tax-deductible contribution for that dollar. And with another, what is it, $24,999, you too can get a pillar. Anyway, thank you for being here. I know that some people are trying to find parking, and there will be some others that will be joining you in a little while. It's always a special honor for those of us. Margie Button has given me all these little pieces of paper, so I better keep them with a paper clip. It is always a special honor for those of us that are in public education to have events that honor worthy recipients, people, students, ex-students that contribute to these public institutions. And we're really honored today because we have a number of people that have given their time, their money, and in many cases, former students have given their blood, their sweat, their tears as they've studied to get A's, B's, C's, and perhaps even an occasional D. This is the 8th annual Courtyard of Honor ceremony at Golden West College. This particular ceremony began in 1991 as part of a 20th anniversary celebration for Golden West College. The ceremony has been expanded to include what we've called the pillars of support. That is, people, organizations, businesses that give the college $25,000 plus. And then the recognition of the new names on the donor wall. It's always very, very special to honor the people that contribute so much to the well-being of Golden West College and thereby to the city of Huntington Beach and all of West Orange County. We have a number of very important people that I'd like to at least acknowledge and introduce, and I hope I get them all. We've been trying to invite as many people as were available to come today. Supervisor Jim Silva will join us shortly. This is the area that he represents. He's chairman of the Orange County Board of Supervisors and a former Huntington Beach city councilman and educator. Sitting in for him for the moment until he arrives is Ron Strawn, who's a representative from Supervisor Silva's office. Would you stand up, Ron? The mayor of Huntington Beach, the Honorable Shirley Detloff. Peter Green has two parts in the program. The first part is to be introduced as the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Huntington Beach, Dr. Peter Green. Mr. Armando Reese is a member of the Coast Community College District Board of Trustees, and he represents Huntington Beach. Dr. William Vega is the Chancellor of the Coast Community College District. Dr. John Renley is the Vice Chancellor of Human Resources at the Coast Community College District. Mr. Gene Farrell is the Vice Chancellor of Administrative Services at the Coast Community College District. We have some other special guests from the city. Diane Baker, who is the president of the Huntington Beach Conference and Visitors Bureau. We're honored to have Ray Silver, who is the Huntington Beach City Administrator, who's here with us today. We're also honored to have City Councilman and my friend David Garofalo. We have Ralph Bauer, who is also a city councilman, City of Huntington Beach. All of them are my friends, by the way. Ralph Bauer, Peter Green, Shirley Detloff. See, Dave, I was really getting in trouble there. Now that I'm off the track here, let me continue to the ones that were on the script and that are not my friends. Whoa. Nora Morrison is a member of the Golden West College Foundation Board of Directors, and I believe she's here, or maybe she has not arrived yet. Dr. Don Testa is a member of the Golden West College Board of Directors of the Foundation. I don't see Don either. Is he here? Jerry Dominguez, who's employed by Southern California Edison, is a new member of the Golden West College Foundation. Is Jerry here? Okay. And of course we have my friend June Dugmore, who is a member of the Golden West Patrons and the president of that organization. June? I also noticed that we have another friend of the college, Ed and Sandy Laird, just arrived. Would you stand up, Ed, Sandy? Very good friends of the Greens, and they wanted to be here today to celebrate with the Greens. Now, have I left anyone out? Okay. Pierre Grimes, professor of philosophy, Golden West College. I left them. My wife could not be here today. Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Marjorie Lewis, who is the Vice President of Instruction and Student Services, who will present the pillars. Margie.
Thank you, Ken, and good afternoon to all of you. Let me welcome you as well to a wonderful occasion, a beautiful afternoon. We're so pleased that all of you could be here with us. The Pillars of Support program has been established here at the college to recognize the generosity of donors who have contributed $25,000 or more to the Golden West College Foundation. Each time a donor reaches this important milestone, we select one of our actual pillars, such as this, on which to place a plaque so that everyone who walks by that pillar can see this visible sign of support. And they remind us of how fortunate all of us are to have the support of these individuals and organizations, companies, as we all work together to ensure the success of our students. We currently have 19 pillars of support, these special pillars that have been used to recognize our donors. And today we're very pleased that we're going to be recognizing 4 more. Each of these honorees is described in your program, but I do want to give them a brief introduction and give them a chance to say something and you a chance to see who they are. Our first pillar today was established in memory of Gladys Maybelle Crown. And it's given in recognition of the caregivers who provided Mrs. Crown with comfort and love during her final days. Here to speak to us about Mrs. Crown is her daughter, Kathy Crown, who is a member of the English faculty here at the college. Kathy.
I look across and see my mother's image looking back at the president's office and the marble which bears the name of the president for whom I worked in those days, whom my mother called the lady. By that time in her life, my mother had suffered a stroke that had resulted in speech aphasia, but she loved my boss, the lady Judith Valles. It is also appropriate that my mother's image on her pillar looks out at the library and the quad where graduation is held from the building which has been my professional home in one capacity or another since it was built. My mother's commitment to Golden West College came late in her long life, but she and my father both had a lifelong commitment to excellence in education. My parents were married during the worst of the Depression in 1931. My 2 brothers were born in the 30s during those hard times. I came along a decade later. In spite of those early hard times, my parents instilled the importance of education and the striving for excellence in all of us. My brothers went on to graduate school, one in law, the other in medicine. I, being much younger and the only girl, just continued to collect degrees and majors because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I still can't. Together, the three of us collected 27 years of college. I can remember coming home with a report card one semester when I guess I was a sophomore in high school. I was so proud. I had 4 A's and 1 B. My mother looked at the report card and smiled. I can remember her saying as she gently hugged me, "That's very nice. I'm sure you'll do better next time." We grew up on the heartbeat of a nation in Washington, D.C. My father was the dreamer, the risk taker, and he was successful. What my mother gave to us was the sense of being our best and not settling for okay, but to strive to do as well as we were capable of doing, striving for excellence. Only later in my life did I realize the breadth of her unselfish acts for others. I knew of her acts through the Eastern Star and the Lady Lions, but she not only was generous in her charity for causes, but in her small acts for others. My mother crocheted Afghans for half the state of Maryland, as well as for one newborn baby of a Golden West College secretary whom she hadn't met. She unselfishly gave to others. My father and both my brothers died before my mother died last December. My mother endowed a Scholar Athlete Award at the American University in Washington for my brother Ronnie, the doctor. Just before she died, my mother was in the process of endowing a scholarship at the School of Journalism of the University of Maryland for my oldest brother, Joe, the lawyer. He had majored in journalism in undergrad school, and for my father, who had written for the Washington Star newspaper for 49 years. My mother called California her home for the last 6 years of her life. In spite of her advanced years, she was 88 when she died last December, and her severely impaired heart. Mother traveled to Europe, including Russia, went through the Panama Canal, flew in a helicopter over an erupting volcano in Hawaii, riverboated on the Mississippi, all made possible because of the love and devotion of her caregivers. Near the end, 2 of her caregivers, who were students in the nursing program here, shared a weekend with her in Palm Springs with a private swimming pool, Mother with her girls. In appreciation to all of her caregivers who brought such joy in her latter days, the award in Mother's name was established for the outstanding caregiver, which hopefully will not only celebrate my mother's memory, but inspire others to aspire to the tenets of my mother's life. I have been told by those who knew her as a friend of her graciousness, kindness, unselfishness. Her epitaph has been that those who knew her have been graced by her touching their lives. It's the hard part. Gladys Crown, Mama, was such an extraordinary person that I'm sure she has made heaven a better place by her presence.
Thank you, Kathy. Our second pillar honors Frank M. Doyle. He was a well-known developer of property here in many areas of Huntington Beach. His positive attitude and his belief in education inspired his family to pay tribute to his memory by establishing the Frank M. Doyle Foundation, which provides scholarships for the continuing education of Huntington Beach students. We have with us today Mrs. Gertrude Doyle, Frank's daughter Molly Glenn, and his grandson Doug Doyle. And I believe Doug is speaking with us today.
Thanks. You'll notice in the program that it actually says Patrick Doyle, which is my father. And apparently he duped me. Said he couldn't make it. So I got chosen to come up. If you want to just turn to the page with all the pillar stuff in there, that's basically what we're about. I didn't prepare, although your presentation was wonderful. I'm way slipping compared to you.
Teaching.
Unfortunately, I never really studied it. That's a problem. But On behalf of the Doyle Foundation, I'd just like to thank the Golden West College Foundation for the recognition today. We really appreciate it. In fact, it's an honor to stand up here for the family. Thanks.
Thank you, Dag. Our third pillar is awarded to Dr. Howard Mango, who is a practicing audiologist in Newport Beach and the president of the founding board of the Pacific Coast Civic Light Opera, which is an auxiliary of the Golden West College Foundation. And its third show is starting this Friday night. I'll give you a plug, Howard. My Fair Lady. I hope all of you can come and see it over the next few weeks. Howard is a performer and a director himself, and he has lent his leadership and his support to the PCCLO during this very critical and highly successful first year. We're very pleased to recognize Dr. Howard Mango.
Thank you. I was first introduced to the theater and the fine arts division here at Golden West College in 1990 when Stuart Rogers cast me as the sadistic dentist in Little Shop of Horrors. Following that, I played Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol and Fagin in Oliver, all characters of somewhat questionable moral fiber, as well as some other roles in the fine arts division productions under the inspired guidance of Dean David Anthony. During this tenure, Mr. Anthony and myself had numerous and lengthy discussions about elevating the college's musicals to the next level. After 3 years of planning, the Pacific Coast Civic Light Opera was born in October of 1997. I personally felt that this was the beginning of an organization which had incredible potential, both for the college and the community. In just 1 year, we have been able to accomplish a number of feats which similar organizations have taken 10 times as long to bring about. We have begun a season subscription from scratch, which is rapidly approaching 1,000 subscribers, with a goal of 2,000, my personal goal, and Dean Anthony's as well, by March of 1999. By comparison, the Long Beach Civic Light Opera had 34,000 season subscribers at their peak, so we've got a little bit of work to do ahead of us. We have taken enormous strides toward the renovation of the Golden West College Amphitheater, with potential seating for 1,400 patrons and summer musicals under the stars. In addition, we have received considerable private and business donations and are currently working towards several grants for funding. We have produced 2 highly successful shows, The Music Man, starring David Ruprecht, and the summer musical Boomers, which together were viewed by over 13,000 patrons. My Fair Lady, which opens tomorrow night, we hope to see all of you there, boasts 2 performers who have done the role on Broadway. Ian Ogilvy, who is playing Professor Henry Higgins, and Julian Holloway, who is the son of the incomparable Stanley Holloway, who originated the role on Broadway of Alfie Doolittle and was in the film with Rex Harrison and Julie Andrews. I am very proud of what we have accomplished in just a short time. The PCCLO has the potential of becoming one of the finest regional theater venues, not only in California, but nationally. I am very grateful that I have been able to be a part of this personally and financially. I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, Dean David Anthony, President Ken Iglesias, and Chancellor Bill Vega and the Board of Trustees for their support. In closing, let me say that it is through the joint efforts of people like these, the community support, and an outstanding college and district that makes all this possible. I hope you'll all join us from now until November 15th for My Fair Lady, as well as our next season, which will begin in April of 1999. Again, thank you, and I hope the next award the PCCLO receives will be a small gold statuette named Tony. A lofty goal, but not an impossible dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. And our fourth pillar recognizes the donations of local firms and individuals to scholarships for Golden West College's outstanding science students. Here representing our science departments is a member of the chemistry department, Dr. Larry Williams.
Thank you. I'm in the kind of enviable position where I get to thank everybody. I get to be a part of this process and thank the donors, and especially Golden West, commend them for recognizing donor efforts. I'd like to tell you a story. This is a true story. I had outside my office maybe 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, a woman who was practically on the verge of tears, a young woman who practically flunked out of high school. And somehow she ended up at Golden West, and it started to come together for her. And her grades got better and better and better. By the time she hit my classes, she was making straight A's. She had taken just about every remedial course. But why she was outside my office was because her parents were caught in the recession. She was working to help them out. She had virtually no money to continue her education. She's a recipient of one of these awards. And 1 week ago, last Wednesday, she called me. It must have been way after 11 o'clock at night. She was extremely excited to tell me what her MCAT scores were, which is the medical qualifying exams. And I'm proud to tell you that I have never heard of such high MCAT scores. So the process is working. I'm very proud to be a part of it and want to thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And now, here to present a special proclamation to our honorees from the city of Huntington Beach is the mayor of Huntington Beach, Shirley Detloff.
It is a privilege to be here this afternoon to say thank you to all of those who contribute so much to this college. But I want to thank all of you at Golden West College for the contributions you have made over the years to our community. You're very much a part of this community, and you're very much a part of my life. When I first moved in approximately 2 blocks away, I looked over at this vast open field, and the first thing I saw were these pillars. Now, we were very curious, all of the new residents to Huntington Beach, what were you going to do with these cement pillars? Well, you have used them very well. These pillars, I think, represent the stability of this college, and now with these names who have all gone on to do such great things, I think that saying it is a privilege to have you in our community are not words that are good enough. But I think everyone in Huntington Beach, when you say you're from Huntington Beach, California, you immediately think of Golden West College. So I want to thank the students, the faculty, and I want to thank you who have contributed so much in your way to making this a very special place. So on behalf of the entire City Council, the City of Huntington Beach, I want to commend all of you for making this such a special place. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. We've completed this part of the program, and these recipients can take their original seats, and we'll move on to the next part of our recognition ceremony. In addition to our recognizing with pillars the donors who contribute $25,000 or more, we have a group called the Golden Society. These are the people who have contributed between $10,000 and $24,999. The plaques denoting these people over the years are in our Courtyard of Honor here. And today we're very pleased to recognize 2 more people who are joining this group. Our first Golden Society honoree is Rita Simonton, who along with her late husband John have contributed a great deal of support to our men's water polo team throughout the years. And I don't believe Rita is here today. Is that correct? Okay. Our second Golden Society honoree is Kathy Crown, whom you've already met, and we'd like to ask Kathy to please stand and be recognized for this contribution. And I'm also pleased to announce today that in this year, 1998, we have 124 either new additions or changes to our donor wall. And again, these are the plaques that you see along the courtyard wall here. These names are either new supporters to the Golden West College Foundation, or they're individuals or corporations who have, through their donations this past year, moved into a higher category of support. The names are listed in your program, but we did want to acknowledge them and thank these donors for their support as well. And now to present to you our outstanding alumni pillar recipients. I have the pleasure of introducing a former outstanding alumni pillar recipient herself and the president of our Nursing Alumni Associates, Emily Young. Emily.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. It's a pleasure to be here, to return again this year and to be part of the 1998 Courtyard of Honor ceremony. I have the great pleasure of introducing the presenters who will then in turn present our outstanding alumni honorees. With that, let's proceed. Are you ready? Our first presenter will be Dr. Peter Green, biology professor here at Golden West College, also Mayor Pro Tem, City of Huntington Beach, with honoree Catherine Clary Green.
Thank you very much. It is really an honor, a privilege for me to present to you my wife of almost 29 years, Kathy Clary Green. She needs no introduction to this group, however, because she's been such a part of all of our lives for so long. Her family is here, at least her father, Dr. Tom Clary, and her sister, Dee Dee. Our two children couldn't be here. Teresa is at San Francisco State doing her upper division studies after graduating from Golden West College. And Tom, both of them 16 years at Golden West. And Tom, actually, I'm counting from when they were over here in the pool, Mommy and me go swimming. That counts, they were students here. And Tom is at Cal State Bakersfield, and he's studying environmental resource management. We have many friends here today, and these friends are from the college, from Math Science Division particularly, some very close friends. They've been our extended family, actually, for all of these years. We would celebrate bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, baptisms, confirmations, weddings, birthdays, and every occasion to celebrate in between. And we have a very close-knit faculty in the math science area. Other friends are from the Huntington Beach Community Clinic, where Kathy has been so active. And there are others from the city of Huntington Beach, where Kathy and I have been involved for these years. And you've met many of them. Jim Silva, who happens to be #1 on your ballot for his county supervisor, and Shirley Detloff, #4, and Dave Garofalo, #7, and Ralph Bauer, #9. I just thought I couldn't miss. So Kathy is really a remarkable lady. And she and the wife of the first president, Mary Boyce, became close friends, and they formed the Faculty Wives Club, and Kathy was president of that. And then as our children got older and they were taking classes in cooking and piano, Teresa acted in a few plays. College was really part of our lives. Then Kathy took classes in philosophy, psychology, sociology, math, science, pharmacology, all of those, and then got her RN here from Golden West College. And I don't know if it's true every year, but that year, every student who graduated took the RN and every student passed, 100%. That may be true every year, I don't know, but I was really impressed with that year. And Kathy, after that, became an intensive care nurse at UC Irvine, and then went back to the Huntington Beach Community Clinic, one of her first loves, to work with the young people of our community, and then a nurse here at the College Health Center. She then decided to go on to law school because she wanted to know more about the law, so she earned a degree at Pacific Coast University, a Doctor of Laws degree. She's here today because of her work I think primarily with the Huntington Beach Community Clinic. She's been on that board for several years, has been the chairman of that board for the past 3 years. Every year has to raise at least $1.5 million to keep that clinic going. It is a clinic that serves at least 130 people a day. Most of these people have no insurance, they're the working poor, and they've never turned anyone away. It's a dynamic group of people. Actually, it's really a small health center. It's down on Newman and Beach Boulevard if you're interested in stopping by and seeing that clinic. It's a great place. She's also here, and she was awarded this Outstanding Citizen in Huntington Beach this year by the Chamber of Commerce. 200,000 citizens, and there's only one outstanding citizen. That's quite an honor also. So Kathy then went from there. In fact, what is she doing right now? Well, last spring she decided she'd like to go on the grand jury of Orange County. And this grand jury, 300 people applied for this, and they were interviewed intensively by the judges, and 19 survived that interview process, and Kathy is one of those. And with that, then, all year long, from July until July, every day they're over at the courthouse and looking at different parts of the community of the county. She is on two committees, one concerned, of course, with health care, and the other with children and child care, concerned with a number of different areas along with that. So now I don't know what Kathy has in mind when she gets off the grand jury. I'll just have to stay and watch. But I'd like to introduce my wife, my charming wife, Kathy Clary Green.
Thank you. Honored guests, friends, my family, many former teachers, and the love of my life, Peter, who is number 7 on your Huntington Beach City ballot and number 1 in your hearts. He started it. I want to thank you all for this great honor. When our children were 11 and 12, I enrolled at Golden West College to become a nurse. Golden West College's nursing program has been and is still rated top-notch. My becoming a nurse has brought such joy to my life, whether in intensive care, a clinic setting, student health, or as a board member. In nursing school at Golden West College, an upperclassman of mine was diagnosed with breast cancer. Joe addressed our class emphasizing the importance of breast self-exams, annual exams, and mammograms. This started my interest and involvement in the American Cancer Society, breast cancer, and patient advocacy. After working in intensive care, I went to work at the Huntington Beach Community Clinic, which started my involvement and the love of the clinic, and very likely the reason that I've been recognized with this award today. When I was told I was being awarded the Pillar of Achievement as a community volunteer, I was at a loss as to what this meant. So I went to the dictionary and looked up Pillar, Achievement, Community, and Volunteer, and this is what I found. Pillar has 2 definitions. The first is a firm, upright, separate support, a column. And when we look around, we can certainly see the pillars that are such an integral part of the architecture of Golden West College. The second definition is one who strongly supports a work or a cause. The nursing education I received at Golden West College has afforded me opportunities of involvement in the Huntington Beach Community Clinic, the American Cancer Society, the Huntington Beach Collaborative, the Grand Jury Committees of Human Services and Children's Services, which are great joys in my life. Next, achievement is defined as noteworthy and successful action or a distinguished feat. This brings to mind Marie Curie's words, quote, One never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done. This, unquote, this, I believe, spurs our interests and raises our expectations of ourselves to keep motivated. Next, community is defined as the public or society at large. My community of friends has expanded from the people at the college to the people we have met through our involvement of the city, and finally, the people I associate with at work and on the boards on which I serve. These are the people that hold us together as a community. And finally, volunteer is defined as one who enters into service of his own free will. Growing up, my father often told us, service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy in this world, and that the roots of happiness grow deepest in the soil of service. I do know that second to my family, volunteering has been my greatest source of joy I have experienced, both in the wonderful friendships and the sense of accomplishments I've been blessed with. In closing, I'd like to leave you with a Tagore saying, I slept and dreamed that life was happiness. I awoke and saw that life was service. I served and found that in service, happiness is found. Thank you.
I'd like to call forward our second presenter, Dr. Pierre Grimes, philosophy professor at Golden West College, and recipient Dr. Regina Juliana.
Greetings. I've been asked to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Regina Juliana. And as I thought about it, I had to ask myself, an achievement? What kind of an achievement? That didn't go very well, because then I had to wonder, am I sure I know what achievement is? And then I remembered words and I said, oh yes, I know what achievement is. It's a way in which we talk about a chief, because that's where the word comes from. It's a chief. It's a ruler. Well, then it was easy, because I know what a ruler needs to be. Why, a ruler needs to have an art. To have an art, you need 5 things, and if you don't have them, you haven't elevated yourself to the level of an art, and therefore you don't have rulership. Therefore, if the speaker I'm going to introduce, Dr. Juliana, is a chief, she must be a ruler, and she must have at least 5 things, and these should be very clear. Number 1, she should have a knowledge. With that knowledge, she should be able to look out and make a diagnosis of the condition of the subject. After making a diagnosis, she should then consider what kind of problem must be addressed, what treatment. Oh, and then a follow-up. But all of these things aren't worth much unless there's one important thing. Whether all of that knowledge and all of that attention is directed only to one thing, the resolvement of the problem for which the treatment and the knowledge is directed. That is to say, the subject must benefit. If the subject doesn't benefit, it's all a sham. But you can't have any benefit, and you can't have any knowledge, unless it depends upon having a very clear perception and idea of an ideal. Now, what do I mean by that? Consider a physician. He's only a good physician, or any ruler, if they have a very clear perception of an ideal of health. No political leader is of any worth who has no clear perception of the ideal of justice. And on the basis of those 2 ideals, then they can turn around and examine the subject and see where they are deficient and what needs to be corrected. And if they can't make that perception of what needs to be corrected, they don't know what to treat. So they must always treat that which most needs it, what is deficient. So, well armed with this reflection, I returned to my subject and said, now, does Dr. Juliana possess these qualities? Is she a chief? Well, I reflected for a moment more, and I said, well, let's see. There are two things a chief must have. Must be able to diagnose. Must have that knowledge to diagnose. Then I reflected and I said, good heavens, you know, one of the things in your pamphlet in front of you is one of the works she contributed to and played a major role in developing. And that was the Gottschalk-Glaser content analysis scale, which was then applied to a political figure. I think you may know his name, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about his last name. His first name was Ronald Reagan, that's right, Ronald Reagan. They applied this great tool called the content analysis to Ronald Reagan's speeches. And I assure you, the profile that they came up with required an art because it showed quite a few deficiencies. Well, since she had the courage and worked with people who had the courage to develop such a fine thing, I wondered whether or not, therefore, she's still qualified as a chief, because all she can do so far is make diagnoses. So the second thing that we have noted in our pamphlet is that she worked on yet another thing, a particular interesting idea called philosophical midwifery, which is a way of exploring human problems, that is, the condition people find themselves in when they're blocked, and finding a way to resolve those blocks so they can go on and achieve greatness. Well, therefore, I could feel quite secure in believing that she is a chief, or at least is ready and prepared to be one. And so, therefore, I'm very proud to be able to introduce you to Dr. Juliana. Thank you.
Well, to follow that is going to be interesting. I did write something, but unfortunately I left it at home. So my rulership is a little nervous today. So I tried to recall, which is one of the elements of an art, and try to have good memory. So let me begin in terms of what I do recall. Much of what I want to say, and there's not enough time, but I want to thank many people, and in particular Dr. Grimes. I want to thank not only for this recipient of this award, but also for what it stands for in terms of me personally, and what it's related to in its term, if it's long history and rich history that extends actually back into the classics and Hellenic time. It's not easy in our pursuit of excellence and in our pursuit of mastery of a subject to find a person who can guide you to that excellence. And in essence, the more difficult the subject, sometimes the more difficult you'll be able to find someone who can guide you. But once you do, and if you by fortunate you have that opportunity, then you value it and you prize it. Well, let me begin a little bit about my journey. I actually entered Golden West College with an ideal and a dream. And I wanted to pursue marine biology. And my ideal was Jacques Cousteau. Well, one day I was asked, I had to take a philosophy class, and my biology teacher, Mr. Hayden Williams, had a daughter who also was in philosophy at the time. And she introduced me to Dr. Pierre Grimes, and I attended his classes. It was in this class that I was brought forth with a strange person or strange being called Plato by way of Professor Grimes. And ironically, as I said, it came by way of Mr. Hayden Williams. I was in this class, and let me give you a brief idea of this first class and how it turned me around. I was in class and I was asked the question, as we all are in many of our classes, what is knowledge? And I'm ready to sit down and listen for an hour lecture on what knowledge is by way of how philosophers viewed knowledge. Well, as you remember in your own classes, knowledge of science or biology, or you're often given a lecture. But to my surprise, that's not what happened. He followed it up with questions of, well, how do you know you know? And how do you know that you know? And I sat there and thought, wait a minute, this is not a lecture. He's asking us personally to reflect upon ourselves and ask us how we came to know the things we came to know. That was an unusual set of questions, and not before asked in any of the prior classes I had had. I was stunned, and the questions then turned. I saw that the question was turned on the very subject itself, to know what knowledge is in itself. And being the knower of this, I was to also know that which is that knows, and what it is it knows. Well, this was all confusing, my first day in philosophy class. What even more surprised me was that as I read the dialogues, I found that these very questions were asked by Plato through Socrates, and by Socrates to a young man called Theaetetus. This was 2,500 years ago. I seemed to enter a time warp, for the time did not seem to be different from the questions that I was reading on the page and what was being asked in the class. I wanted to learn more about this method of dialogue and the way it brought and turned not only myself around, but how I saw it turn others in the class around. To examine themselves and ourselves. And in essence, to examine and to pursue the goal of knowing oneself. Well, in my interest and my love for this, I, with Dr. Grimes, decided to start a philosophy group on Friday nights. And so every Friday night, we met at the GWC's Community Center with interested students from his class and other colleges around the area. We read the dialogues, and Dr. Grimes was often seen exploring with someone some idea, either their own personal ideas or through the dialogues. From that, Pierre Grimes decided to define a group, and in 1972, the group was incorporated as a nonprofit educational group called the Noetic Society. For 32 years, that group has met every Friday night, with very few misses, to discuss Platonic dialogues and to engage in explorations, both personal and philosophical. And by the way, I'm not sure what the difference is at times. And we are presently at the Women's Club in Huntington Beach. Many of the students have been students of Golden West. When I went on to get my BA in philosophy, I wanted to continue my work in the art of dialogue, but I wasn't sure whether it would be in philosophy, and at that time I thought maybe psychology would be a better route. So I applied to UC Irvine and wanted to apply this art to psychotherapy. At that time I was fortunate to meet Dr. Louis A. Gottschalk, who is now Professor Emeritus at UCI. And from there, he welcomed me as a graduate student and also acknowledged my work as co-author in many different research projects, including the one that was mentioned, the presidential study on presidential debates, studying cognitive impairment in presidential candidates. I followed my PhD and I got my license, and then returned to Pierre Grimes for his help to guide me in his art of dialogue. At the same time, in that he saw that my interest was to continue this pursuit, he decided to develop what he called the Philosophical Midwife Program, which he added to the component of the Noetic Society. He thought this method of dialogue, his adaptation, by the way, of Socratic dialectic, may be helpful, since he saw that there were several of us also interested. My goal was to learn this art, to master it, and to pass it on to those and to benefit as I was benefited and had continued to be benefited. This seemed to be what I considered to be the ideal in terms of education and knowledge and excellence. Fortunately, from that, I was able to present to my colleagues at the California State Psychological Association and introduce to them Platonic dialogue as a method of psychotherapy. Following that, Dr. Grimes and I worked on a book that went through many changes and many revisions over a 15-year span, so you can imagine what was involved, that looked at several levels. First of all, we decided to challenge a very fundamental belief in terms of science, that a rational method, as philosophical midwifery was impossible to be empirically validated, and that such a method was not able to reach significant emotional levels. Using the Gottschalk scales, I found that we had challenged that method. And in fact, this purely rational method is a very applicable method and can be in part empirically verified. We were challenging very fundamental beliefs. As a result, being joint author of the new book, Philosophical Midwifery, a new paradigm of understanding human problems, gave birth in April of this year. In this work, I present from a philosophical viewpoint philosophical midwifery, comparing it with other psychological theories, presenting the validation study. Pierre presents his theory, the methodology, compares it with other philosophical theories and its implications. I have then taken this model and adapted it as a psychotherapy, and I call it Grimes dialectical rational psychotherapy. I have applied it with high school students who have had problems in achieving excellence in their own school, who have become truants or probationary students, and have found a great value, and they have benefited. I have also adapted Grimes dialectical rational psychotherapy to the severely ill population and presented several studies and seminars and workshops on its application as a way to understand the problem of repeated hospitalizations and the problem of recidivism that plagues our criminal justice system. I recently went to Belize and introduced PM and GDRP as a way to help families understand teenage suicide and help those who attempted suicide. Well, this is a history, and it's come up to date at this point. I have refrained from talking about others I wish to thank, to first honor my first teacher and mentor. But I have to say that it could not be done without the companionship and the friendship of many along that journey. So let me first introduce several of them. Some of them you may know. Rod Wallbank, a longtime friend, colleague, and true companion. Sarah Wallbank, his wife. Nancy Grimes, Pierre's wife. The Grimes children, all 6 of them. Bill and Rhonda Gilbert, Julie Hoygaard, Julie Grable, Barbara Stecker, and I didn't make out, I had them all listed, but my family and friends, and if I've left anyone out, I apologize. The new students who have engaged and begun their journey in this pursuit of excellence and self-knowledge. Igmar, Brad, Scott, etc. I want to thank you for this achievement, for it reflects not just myself, but a long history. And that history is exemplified, and I hope it will continue to be in my mastery of philosophical midwifery and its psychotherapeutic application of Grimes' dialectical rational psychotherapy. I don't think I have found any greater pursuit than that of excellence and that of knowing thyself. And I think that Golden West has had, it's been providential, I guess, to have Professor Grimes among its faculty, and I have enjoyed the journey, as rough as it's been, and I thank you.
Wow. And so, Regina, what do you do in your free time? Our third presenter is Associate Professor of Nursing Diane Rastelli, and recipient is Dr. Ann Ferguson White.
Good afternoon. I need to tell you, first of all, that Ann and I are not related in any way, nor was I her teacher, but I must say that both Ann and I are nursing alumni of Golden West College. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our next recipient of the Alumni Pillar of Achievement Award. She has endeavored various and challenging experiences in the field of nursing since she graduated from our program in 1972. It is always a delight to hear about a Golden West nursing graduate and how he or she has progressed since graduation. I have only known Anne Marie White since last winter. We met by chance in an orientation program at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach. We were asked to introduce ourselves, and I associated myself with Golden West College's nursing program. Anne and I immediately struck up a conversation, sharing past instructor names and places that we had worked. I knew immediately that Anne had many facets to her nursing career. I was pleased to note that by this time she had 25 years of nursing experience and held top positions as Assistant Vice President of Surgical Services at AMI Encino Tarzana Regional Medical Center in Encino, California, Director of Nursing for Surgical Services at St. Joseph's Hospital in Eureka, California, Encino Hospital in Encino, California, University Instructor at Humboldt State University in Arcata, California, California State University, Dominguez Hills in Dominguez Hills, owner of a medical legal consulting business, and recently perioperative educator at Hoag Memorial Hospital in Newport Beach. Her current adventure is Department Administrator, Acting Director, and Consultant at Kaiser Perioperative Services in Baldwin Park, California. Anne certainly has the professional proficiency and assertiveness to get the job done wherever she goes, and across the nation she has been, from Huntington Beach, California, to Florida, to Washington, to Oregon, to New York, to Los Angeles, and back here again. I suppose her time in the United States Air Force and accomplished educational level had a lot to do with this. She currently holds the rank of Major in an indefinite reserve status, Bachelor of Science degree in Nursing from California State University, Fullerton, Master's in Nursing from Eastern University in Washington and Cheney, Washington, and Doctorate in Education in Nursing Administration from Teachers College at Columbia University, New York. Her credits and accomplishments go on, and I know as I introduce her here today, there's something else she's going to add to her resume. I am proud to see Golden West nursing graduates aspire in so many areas. The programs she has developed and the nursing students and patients she has helped, I know, recognize her qualities as a great nurse. It is with great pleasure that I introduced an accomplished Golden West graduate, an outstanding nurse, and this year's recipient of the prestigious Alumni Pillar of Achievement Award, Dr. Anne Marie White.
I'd like to thank the members of the foundation for selecting me for this award. I'm both amazed and gratified for the honor. Diane, thank you very much. Not many people are aware of how I came to be a student at Golden West, and for obvious reasons, which will become clear, I don't share it very often.
But I will today to show how a relatively unimportant event changed the course of my life. I was 18 years old and still living at home in Garden Grove, still living by the rules of the house. I wanted to go to a dance in the middle of the week, and my mother said no. I'm sure I whined enough to the point of her own exasperation, so she said to me, "You can go, but only if you go down to Golden West and fill out an application to nursing school." And I thought to myself, no sweat, I'll never get accepted. And I went to that dance. Imagine my shock 3 months later when I received the acceptance letter from Golden West, which I still have, by the way. I couldn't believe it. Why would I want to go to nursing school when I had a great job, making $300 a month, my own car, and no bills or worries? Reluctantly, I resigned myself to go. I remember in September 1970 going to the big new Golden West College bookstore with my mother. She had offered to pay for my tuition and books for the first semester, and she would have to pay by check. I, of course, didn't have one at the time, a checking account. The tuition that year was $5. I'm aging myself here. The bill for those big, huge nursing books was exactly $100 at the bookstore. I was shocked. I had no idea nursing would be this expensive. The nursing faculty was great. I remember Kate McDonough in particular. She had been a neuro-ICU nurse, which was a relatively new specialty back then, and I remember her showing us how to make an occupied bed. I remember the details of her instructions in particular. Absolutely no wrinkles. Make sure those seams do not fall on the patient. Some of these patients cannot move at all, and lying on wrinkles or seams may lead to pressure sores. I still give that advice to housekeeping staffs today as I make my travels in different hospitals. As a matter of fact, I gave it this morning in Baldwin Park at the brand new Kaiser facility to a housekeeper who had had sort of a disaster of a hospital bed in preparation for patient surgery. And I told him, make sure that those operating room tables and gurneys are made up appropriately. No wrinkles, watch those seams, and make sure the beds are clean. I remember giving shots to oranges and to each other. I remember giving bed baths to my first patients, men, at Hoag Hospital. They thought it was great. I was terrified. The first enema I had to give was a complete disaster. It was all over the patient, all over the bed, and all over the room. And what a lesson to learn. That was my initiation into nursing. And I remember my favorite pediatric patient, a little boy with leukemia at CHOC. And he wouldn't eat and he was wasting away. And I'll never forget the look in his mother's eyes as she watched him. I came in on weekends with milkshakes from, I think, the almost original Carl's Jr. or Carl's on Harbor Boulevard near Disneyland to tempt him to see if he would eat something. And he died shortly after I graduated. The most important thing for me to emphasize today is that Golden West College provided a very important key for me. I was pretty sure that I didn't know everything there was to know about nursing when I graduated from Golden West. But I was also sure that I would go on for more education, and the door to my career path was opened slightly. I went right through it. Many of you know already what working at St. Joseph's Hospital in Orange has meant to me. It was the finest hospital I could have been in. The hospital was like a big family and provided a dynamic, incredible, fast-paced work environment. It was also one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. Some of you may not know this, but I was the first two-year nurse right out of school to be accepted at St. Joseph's in the operating room. I grew up there. I was a brand new 20-year-old nurse when I started. I struggled with a complex and difficult orientation to surgery. I cried on the way home every night, but never considered quitting. It took years for me to feel confident and content with my practice there, but eventually it came. And I couldn't imagine working anywhere else. I remember thinking on the way to work nearly every morning that I should be paying the hospital to work there, not the other way around. And over the next 8 years, I worked all 3 shifts, earned a bachelor's from Cal State Fullerton, a degree I'm very proud of, by the way. And I learned the different specialties and became members of several surgical services teams, orthopedics, vascular, and neuro in particular. It was fun and exciting. I got to help circulate on the very first kidney transplant performed in Orange County. I can still scrub a total abdominal hysterectomy with my eyes closed. After 6 years of surgery, I transitioned to a brand new outpatient surgery unit at St. Joseph's. Imagine an operating room nurse actually getting to talk to patients and families, teaching them about the surgery they would receive, helping them prepare for the operation, and making sure they were okay once they got home. And I still got to scrub and circulate on operating room cases. I made wonderful friends, some of whom are here today. I consider St. Joe's the finest hospital on the planet. Golden West provided me with the initial education that made St. Joseph's possible, and I am very grateful. Well, after 8 years in one place, I decided to join the Air Force Nurse Corps and see the world. I was now Captain Ferguson. And after St. Joe's, it was rather a letdown to go to a very small 2-room operating room at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida. The mission of this little hospital, however, was pretty exciting. It was to support Cape Canaveral. And our mission at the hospital meant we got to attend shuttle launches, and if we weren't part of the crew that went out to the Cape, we climbed up a series of staircases to the hospital roof to watch the shuttle launches. My husband and I watched launches from the beaches at night, the beaches where our hospital overlooked. I could look out the back door of surgery and there was the ocean. It was wonderful. A couple years later, I transferred to Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington to learn a new specialty for me, and that was maternal child nursing, or what we call OB. But not before the Air Force learned that I was a nurse with a bachelor's degree and with operating room experience. They needed a nurse to go open up an operating room that had been closed for several years in Montana. Unbeknownst to me, nobody thought I could do it. And I didn't know enough to know I should be excited or depressed or give up. It was an empty shell of a department, and within 5 weeks we had surgery open and running. I remember clearly the first procedure we performed and the congratulations I received from the 2 surgeons who operated successfully on the patient. The opening of this operating room had the potential of saving the American taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars each year for patients who were currently using civilian facilities. And I was proud to make that contribution. That experience was my first management position, and I truly enjoyed it. The hospital administrator, who remains a good friend today, made daily rounds to my department, and the hospital commander did as well. Rarely do we see that kind of interest and concern from administration in a hospital. It was great, and I saw that at the very beginning of my managerial career. Several months later, my replacement came, and I returned to Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington, in Spokane, and I lived there for the next 6 years. I learned OB, spending my time taking care of mothers and babies, and I guess I'm proud to say that I do not have children after that experience. This was in the midst of the last intense nursing shortage just spread across the country. During those 6 years, I worked full-time Air Force, was on alert frequently with bags packed ready to go anywhere on a moment's notice, and managed to complete a master's degree in nursing in adult health and illness at the Intercollegiate Center for Nursing Education in Spokane. Another degree and another incredible nursing experience and an immense amount of pride in the quality of the education I received. Again, it all started with Golden West. After my years in the Air Force, it was time for another adventure. I was accepted to Columbia University in New York to begin work on a Doctor of Education degree. Teachers College, and the nursing department in particular, is the oldest graduate school of nursing in the United States. Imagine my amazement to walk the same hallways that some very famous nurses who contributed a lot to America walked. One of my professors there invented team nursing. If you're a nurse, you know that that's significant. Mildred Montag, the inventor of the 2-year nursing program, developed this concept as part of her doctoral education at Teachers College. I had read Barbara Stevens Barnum's book called The Nurse as Executive when I was a very young bachelor's student at Cal State Fullerton. I was unbelievably delighted to be Barbara's administrative assistant while she was the dean at Teachers College. Although New York itself is not an experience I care to have again, the education I received was top-notch again at nursing. My dissertation at Columbia focused on the nursing shortage of the late 1980s and the impact of that shortage on the bedside nurse. What did nurses really value in working in an acute care hospital? What factors were important and meaningful in their relationships with others at work? Was money the ultimate issue? These were all things I examined as part of my research. You can imagine my joy when my sponsor, after my final oral examination, came out to where I was waiting with my mother in a Teachers College hallway and announced, "Congratulations, Dr. White." My mother cried. It is fitting that she should be with me on that day, since she had let me go to that dance, set me on the path to which I now find myself. And although she couldn't be here today, I know she's thinking about her role in my career design and the impact of a parent on the success of a child. One thing does lead to another. I find myself doing nationwide consulting. I started a business, medical legal consulting in San Diego. I am currently doing hospital consulting and opening up a brand new surgery department at Baldwin Park in Kaiser, opened now for its 8th day, and we have successfully performed over 200 patient surgeries, so I'm delighted about that. My entire career has been an awesome adventure, an adventure that started right here. Over the 2.5 decades I've been a nurse, I have, like many people, had to live with joy as well as grief, and through some tedious and sad times. Throughout it all, there have been 2 great constants in my life: my family and nursing. I am grateful for the opportunity, for the safe place that Golden West was to go to school, and for the resources that were available to me from the college. As I look back, I am honored to have been a student here and to have received the key to my future from Golden West. Thank you.
I'd like to call up now our 4th presenter. That is Harvey Clemens, art professor here at Golden West College, and recipient Anita Williams.
Thank you. Hello. When Anita called me and asked me if I would present her at the Outstanding Alumni Pillars of Achievement Award, I was really very pleased, a bit concerned also, because I'm a painter, and I feel much more comfortable having an easel up here describing her. But there's actually no way I could describe Anita. But welcome back to Golden West, Anita. This is the first time she's been out of Bullhead City since she's retired. So, and it took quite a bit to get her out. But when I was thinking about what I could say about Anita, and she goes back 25 years as a beginning art student. And I was impressed with how she could manage a class, knowing that she was probably the oldest one in the class, a returning student of 38, which isn't really that old anymore. But she ended up being the top student in the class. And she continued that way all the way through as I knew her, and until she became an employee of the school. She was also a student assistant for me, and she got me organized, miracle of miracles, and I'm still using the same system that she set up for me in filing and slides and so on. Thank you for that. But she also, as she graduated in 1977, she then became a graphic designer for our graphic center here at Golden West, learning a great deal about graphics on the job as well as on her own. And then she also became quite an expert in computer publishing, and also is a co-creator of our website at Golden West College. She's now a webmaster, which is a very impressive title. Anita then became also a photographer, and she showed us many of her photographs around in different publications, as well as she had a show in 1992 in our gallery at Golden West College. 60 of her photographs, and it was really an outstanding show, and very impressed with her photographic experiences. She also became quite a quilter, and she also helped curate an international quilt show at Golden West, which is really one of the best shows we've had. And she's also been a subject in an article in a national quilt magazine. And she also was co-founder and chair of the Hens and Chickens Quilt Fellowship, which provides scholarships and projects for Golden West College, and has been donating over $7,500 to this point. Anita is also a devoted family member, and she has her family here. She also had her family on the 1998 spring schedule, all 3 generations, if you haven't seen that. So that's quite an impressive feat, especially when they all look very much the same age. But Anita is a remarkable woman, artist and designer, quilter, and family member, and more recently, a stained glass artist. And it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you my good friend and the outstanding alumni Pillar of Achievement recipient for 1998, one of them. Congratulations, Anita.
Dr. Iglesias, Dr. Lewis, Margie Bunton, Professor Clemens, distinguished guests. I am humbled and proud to accept this recognition. Thank you all very much. As an artist, I have a rich and lively imagination, but when I walked onto this campus 25 years ago, never in my wildest dreams did I conjure up such a day as this, nor such a life as this has been. My original intent seems blurred in the wake of the opportunities and events for which I have been blessed. Education is the cornerstone to achievement. Education and encouragement, family love and support, and unabiding friendships made it possible for me. No one stands at a point of professional or personal satisfaction without these ingredients. I have 2 wonderful children, Roy Scott and Suzanne Elaine, who have been my rock through these many years, who have not only brought me great pride in their accomplishments, but have stood beside me in my quest to reach my goals. They always believe in me, even when I don't. I thank them for their love and loyalty and friendship, and I celebrate their families as a wonderful increase in my life. What a joy they all are to me. Roy, Karen, and Andrea, Suzanne, Mark, Jessica, and Ryan. Bless you. My mother taught me early the appreciation of knowledge, the love of reading, the joy of going to the library. It was a powerful gift. She too believed in me and encouraged my efforts. As a returning adult student, I was fortunate to have selected Golden West College, and fortunate to be able to study with teachers who cared, who made a genuine difference with their skills, knowledge, and their friendship. To Harvey Clemens, to Jack Hurd, to Norm Tornheim, to Bonnie Rook, Lorene Brooks, and to my many other wonderful instructors, thank you. Your gifts are everlasting. The deep friendships I have gained in my life are priceless. From early days as fellow GWC students, Glenda Blackburn and I forged a friendship that will endure forever. Through the years, she's offered me wise counsel and all the love and belief in me that anyone could ask for. My lifelong friend Janet Carroll and I have walked side by side in mutual support. For so many years, we are like each other's shadows, with a love that needs no definition. With the fine education I received at Golden West College, I embarked on a new life, one filled with many challenges, sometimes daunting, but always exciting. After graduation, I had the opportunity to work as a graphic designer here at Golden West, to give back to the school and to incoming students the gifts I had received. In working with great staff and faculty teams, I learned how to help define visually the goals and efforts that this college set forth. And when Golden West reached out globally through the World Wide Web, thanks to the generosity and guidance of Lori Thomas, I was prepared to be a part of that also. I seized opportunities to reach out to students through personal conversations and guest classroom lectures. I remembered that reaching out had made a difference to me. And even as I became a part of the Golden West family, the rest of my life grew in new directions. I took the skills and knowledge obtained in my education and launched a successful private design business. I had set financial goals for myself, and this was the way I could achieve them. I continued to explore my personal artistic expressions through painting and photography, as well as in the needle arts, creating that which seemed challenging and beautiful to me, enriching my visual life and surroundings. And while I took up quilt making, I seemed to have embarked down yet another road, one of teaching others, then participating in the formation of the Hens and Chickens Quilting Fellowship, an auxiliary to the Golden West College Foundation, whose purpose is to further needle arts in the community and to raise funds for student scholarships and special camps projects. Once again, the opportunity arose to contribute, to give back, all the while enriching my own life and gaining new skills, confidence, and friendships. My love of family and history has combined into a fascinating and rewarding pastime, one of exploring our family history through genealogy. It's magic to learn about those who came before you, those who contributed to who you are. I've learned that our family is rich in personalities and education. I discovered our red-headed Jim McJunkin, who scaled the rafters of the local tavern so he could observe the first court proceedings in his town in the early days of Pennsylvania, only to be detained for his efforts. Those McJunkins have been kindly described as unpolished diamonds in the early annals of Butler County. And I discovered that 2 of my great-grandfathers served in the Civil War, one leaving a family of 11 children and his wife behind when he mustered into service in Michigan, only to die in a faraway place called Corinth, Mississippi. The other to come back to his family and go on to become the president of a Pennsylvania university and one-time president of the NEA. Tucked into all these years were a couple of very special events in my life: a one-woman art show, a photography show, and a first-ever quilt show in the Fine Arts Museum Gallery, which I curated and which included internationally established artists and a collection of antique quilts to knock your socks off. In fact, it is said that that show, A Quilted Journey, was the best ever attended in our Fine Arts Gallery. Of course, my family members making the cover of the Spring '98 class schedule was pretty special too. But it was special for more than just our pleasure. It reached out into the community with the message that Golden West is here for everyone, for young people beginning their quest, for community members wishing to enrich their lives, and for older adults who want or need to increase their skills or start all over again. It told our community that we are an eclectic, multi-generation educational institution. We not only reach out to all ethnic groups, but to all generations. Our education must never stop. For all these many blessings and for this wonderful recognition I'm receiving today, I am thankful. I appreciate that you had confidence in me, that you thought I made a difference. It is what life is supposed to be about, making a difference. Education is about making a difference through knowledge, experience, vision, and through opportunity. I was looking for Margie Bunton. Would you join me, please? She didn't know this. I couldn't find you. Well, a student here at Golden West, I received a scholarship. It meant a great deal to me. It let me know that others cared and that they planned and implemented a way to help students. Today, I offer the Anita Light Williams Family Endowed Scholarship here at Golden West College, so additional students can have that extra boost and gain the confidence that Golden West is here to help them succeed. I want to give a special thank you to my aunt, Ava Seidenbecker, for in part helping me make this possible by her very generous and loving birthday gift to me this year. And now my life is full of new beginnings once again. I've retired to a new home in Arizona, one which my children built. I'm basking in the sunshine, exploring my new world, and discovering the pleasure of time. Time to wake up each morning and invent the day. Remember to invent your days, and remember to make a difference.
I want to thank Emily. Thank you so much for helping us. Thank you, Anita, for that generous contribution. I know that it takes a while to do these ceremonies. The time just flies so fast, but they're so very important, these stories of students that have achieved so much. This is what makes working at community colleges and all of public education such a special experience. We now want to do some proclamation activities, and the Honorable Jim Silva is here. I would like the recipients to stand up, if you would, please. And Jim, I know that you have some proclamations to bestow. Would you like to make some comments?
Well, I've always enjoyed being on the campus here at Golden West College because this is one place that you get to look at the future. But today, listening to these women, I found out through the daughters of Golden West College what the history is, and it's a very proud history. I have some proclamations from the county, and I honestly believe from the bottom of my heart that the Golden West College plays a major role in Orange County and the development of mines. It's positive, and I've always felt that the most expensive thing a youngster will ever buy is a cheap education. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Jim has to go to a debate, so I think he's going to run off right now. Thank you very much, Jim, for being here. Supervisor Jim Silva. We want the recipients to remain standing because we have yet another proclamation, and from the Honorable Mayor of Huntington Beach, Shirley Detloff.
On behalf of the city, I'd like to present to each of the recipients a proclamation from the city of Huntington Beach, and this is in particular a special occasion for me because I know two of the recipients very well. Kathy Green has been a friend and a part of my life for many, many years, I think probably almost 30 years, and I was privileged as mayor to name her Citizen of the Year. Also, I was pleasantly surprised as I was going through these proclamations this morning to see that one of my neighbors, and it was so wonderful to see what Anita has achieved. We knew each other as neighbors and mothers of young children, and I knew that she was doing great things at Golden West College, but little did I know how great they were. So to all of you, to be congratulated. You are what has made this such a great college, and I thank you for those efforts.
Well, as president of Golden West College, it is with great pride that I congratulate you as the 1998 Outstanding Alumni for Golden West College. Thank you. We also have yet another plaque, so if you have another hand, we will give these out. These are the plaques from Golden West College. You have the proclamations, and you have the City Award, and now you will get the Golden West College plaque, the Pillar of Achievement. Well, this is why all of us that work in education are so happy when we have these events, graduation and these kind of honoring events for people that we really care about and that care a lot about the institution. The next thing that I must do is, of course, thank Margie Bunton and Suzanne Droney for all of their work, aided by Dolores Harper and others of the staff. Too many to name here, but everyone had a hand. All of the gentlemen that put the chairs out here today and that tried to place the leaves in the exact right locations, because we had to rake them all up to try to place them for a fall look. And I don't know that any of them are here, but Charlie and Steve Cohn and some of the guys that did all of that. So thank you very much for doing that. We will have a reception to celebrate with anyone that's here, families and friends. If you have a few minutes, we do have some sweets and things to drink over at the community center. So please join us if you have a moment. Thank you for being here this afternoon, and goodbye.